Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's November 16th, and yes, I'm at it again. Right now, my workshop's a mess, and I don't care if you don't like it, that's fine. I am getting ready for things. I have been doing different things, but I did my fig propagation update, and then I was going to do some more figs today, and I said, well, I'd bring you along. For those that are new to the channel that hadn't seen some of my fig propagation videos, I figured I'd do a complete one with the process that I use now. Right now, currently, instead of mixing my media to put my fig cuttings in, I've been using, this is Pro Mix. It's FLX, or I call it Flex, which is a good growing medium. It's made for potted plants, propagation, all kinds of stuff, and it works real good. It's kind of a peat. It's basically a mixture of mine, but it's a fine mix. You know, once I moisten it a little bit, it's fluffy. It's got moisture retention, plus it's got drainage, so it's a good mix. Now, as far as if you'll be propagating, get some cups. These 16-ounce ones that I've been using, you can use 16, 18, or 20. Now, some people's going to say roots don't like light. Use a colored cup. If you're going to use a clear one to see the roots, put it in a colored one. I don't worry about it. I haven't had any roots that didn't jump out to the edge, and that's usually the sign whenever I pot them up. I just wait till I get a little bit of roots. I don't leave them in there for a long time. They grow so much faster once the roots hit the side to put them in a 1 gallon pot and let them start growing on from there. Now, what I do is this mixture here is a 50-50 mix of peat moss and perlite. This is the peat moss I have here is it's a premium, or they call it premier, but it's a premium grade peat moss, stagnant peat moss, and this comes from Home Depot. Once I get all my propagation cuttings in there, I just put them in these little tubs. And I do give them light. Now, they say they don't have to have light. I'm going to say if they're green, they will start growing leaves, but they should start growing roots. Now, all these were basically, you could say picked green, because a lot of people want to propagate dormant cuttings, and that's not necessary. They will propagate if they're green, and especially if you get them into a situation right away. I have my helper Gigi right here. She's always annoying me right by my side. She's got to have plenty of affection. And anyway, I got some more here. I got another tub here, and I got another one out there. Now, I hadn't planned, I say, ahead of time to propagate this many, but I've decided to go ahead. Now, I've taken some more cuttings today. This is Black Marcellus, or it's Marcellus Black VS. I have some Genos. I have some Desert King. In fact, I have one that's actually got roots on it because it was so close to the bottom and I cut it off close. And I have some Cadota. And then these here are some more Texas Everbearing. Now, this is a big cutting here, but don't think this big cutting won't root. This thing will root and take off because it wants to grow. It wants to grow. And anyway, we'll get into getting some of this done. Now, once you take your cuttings, now this is kind of a big one, I might go ahead and do a smaller one because it'd be easier to handle. And if I go off screen, I'm sorry, but sometimes it's hard for me to figure exactly where I need to be. And anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off where I have at least, let's say always at least 3 nodes, sometimes 4. Now this is going to be kind of long. We have our first node right here. Each place a leaf comes out is a node. There's another one, and here's another one. Now this is plenty long for my cup. I won't get but 1 node in there, maybe 2. I think I'll go ahead and cut this with my big cutters to clean it up just a little bit. Okay. Now, if you're receiving your cuttings by mail, you want to make sure you do a fresh cut on the end of them before you plant them. Also, you want to remove any wax that may be. Now, sometimes there's wax on the top. You can leave that, that's fine. Now, I don't use wax. Since I cut that bottom, I think I'll go ahead and cut this right up here. You want a good sharp pair of pruners. Now everyone says disinfect them, this and that. I don't never disinfect mine. Now the next thing we're going to need is parafilm. Now we call it parafilm. It's paraffin film. So it has paraffin on it. Now you want to make sure, now it's easy for this one to know, but you want to make sure that you're putting your cutting the direction where it's up. If I plant this upside down, it's not going to grow. Now it's easy to tell. Let me go ahead and cut off one off the top of here. It's easy to tell when you look at this cutting. You have where your leaf would be, and then you've got a little bump on top of it. It's kind of like a little smile here. Well, let's get down there. And then you have a little bump on top. That's the top. Now you can tell this one easily because of the way it is, but all of them will be that way. Now since these are green, they're putting out this caustic. This is caustic. If you're really sensitive, it could irritate your skin, so you might want to use latex gloves. But anyway, you want to make sure that when you're putting yours in the ground that it's going in that way. Okay, now if it's like this, we're not going to worry about doing anything to it. But when it's like this, we want to get some parafilm. Now you could use wax. I use parafilm. And you want to wrap this top. And you're going to stretch this, and you're going to go around the top and try to make sure that you go over it where you've got it all covered, because what this is doing is it's keeping the moisture from leaching out of the top of this. Now if you have places where you had cut off limbs or something, you want to go ahead and do them too if they're going to be above the ground. If they're underground, don't worry about them. But if they're going to be above the ground, you want to make sure that you cut them off. Now, for me, I'm using Clonex. Now, I do have another thing here that's take root. These are rooting hormones. The Clonex, it seems to do a little better than the powder. I'm not going to say that there's a big difference, because there's so many ways people will tell you to root these. And I have a video about the perfect way to root them. And it goes through, after I planted them, I go through and you watch and see which ones actually rooted the quickest. And sometimes even when you don't do anything to them, they're going to root out quicker than some of the others. So don't be too concerned with that. But what we're going to do is, we're going to take a knife. Now this method seems to work the best. And we're going to take and shave 2 places opposite of each other. And that's just going to expose more area, because that's where the roots are going to come out. Where it starts callousing over. And and they're going to come out at the joints. You can see on this joint right here, there's little spots like. It's not really visible as it would be on some, but these little spots actually pop right out as roots. So if you have it in the little tub, like, and I have done this, put them in the tub and put the top on to keep the humidity higher, they actually start rooting out at those areas above the out of the cup, because it's so humid that they have enough moisture that they're going to grow. But after you do this, what you're going to do is you're going to take your cup. Let me make sure you can see that cup. You can't see that one, so let's take a different cup. You're going to take this cup, and I'm going to make a hole. This is kind of a big one. And don't think you can't root big ones. I've seen where they've rooted this big in big pots, and you know, a little layer of soil around them. They will root because figs really like to grow. So what we're going to do, we're just going to get some of this on here, and we're going to, you could put it just on that one spot. I put it all the way around so that it's encouraging where those little roots are going to come out of. And of course I won't put it on the bottom because the roots will want to come out around this edge. So there we go. We're set, ready to go with this one. Now we could use a little bit more on right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this here for just a minute. So we'll let that one set. Being we got this other one, we'll go ahead and prepare it while that one's setting. And this is the easiest thing to do. And the reason why I let it set is so that it gets a chance to absorb some into it, dry just a little bit, but it's not going to make a difference. This stuff is going to be around. Now I could go ahead and put some up on this other joint too. And chances this might actually even sprout quicker, but I'm going to push this down to make sure I have 2 to 3 joints underneath. Now if you have a long grow section, you might not can do that. Because some of these grow so fast, some varieties, that you might have between your nodes, you might have 4, 5, even 6 inches. Now this one here is pretty much ready. All it needs is a tag and some water. When I water these, I'll water them in real good. We'll get to that in just a minute. We're going to put this one down in here, put some dirt around it, and there we go. I'm going to plant up some more of this, and then we'll get them into the tubs. Sometimes I get a little wrapped up in trying to do a video and I forget some steps, and then I have to go back and either write it in on the video or come back and do something else. But normally, now if you're getting your own cuttings like me, I don't worry about washing them. There's no disease that's going to be on here that isn't on my property. But when you get cuttings through the mail and you never know what's going to be there, the best thing is to take mild soapy water and a soft brush and brush these off, and then, like I say, afterwards clip the ends and make sure they're good. But then what I do with all of mine, except the 2 that I planted there, I get me some, it's just slightly warm, it's just barely to the touch, so maybe it's 100 degrees, but I'll take some water and I'll put all these cuttings in it for 2 reasons. One, to wake them up. Now these have been out in the cold. It also takes off any of the juice that is sweated out, that caustic liquid, and it gives them an extra drink before they go into the soil. And I'll put these in here, and I'll leave them in here for at least 10 minutes. And also I want to talk about, because I talked about the different rooting hormones, but some people they'll use aloe vera. If you have an aloe vera plant, they'll put aloe vera on it. It seems to work good, but then again, I can't say because figs root so easy anyway. And another one is cinnamon. Now, cinnamon is a natural bactericide, I guess you would say it. So it keeps bad bacteria off of it, so you're less likely to have some kind of infection happen from your soil. So you could go that way too. Some people use honey, or they use a mixture of any of those to make their own hormone, and it seems to do good. So I'm not going to cast that away and say that that's not an option. So if you don't have rooting hormone there, you might choose to take one of those methods and do it. But anyway, I'm going to let these soak. Then I'm going to get back to separate them out, getting them ready, and getting them in my cups. I also want to talk about selecting your cuttings. Now, I always dry off the base of my cuttings once I get ready to, when I take them out of the water. That way the rooting hormone will stick to them better. But also, what I want to say is the size of your cuttings is going to make a difference. Now, this here is a questionable size cuttings. Now, I have actually ordered cuttings, and somebody has sent me them, but normally, let me see, I should have a pencil over here. Normally, you do not want a cutting that is smaller than a pencil. The energy in it is a good chance that it just won't make it. Now, this one might be fine. It's one of my own, so I'm going to go ahead and try to use it. But if somebody takes and sends you something like that, you know, you might want to question whether you want to deal with them. But anyway, also when I cut these down, you can see this was a branch on the side. I'll set this in there and I'll try to stick it in there at somewhat of an angle. And when I pot it up, I'll try to straighten it up a little bit more. Now, this little one here is probably going to grow up too and come out. But this has got a lot of energy. So even if you have a small one like this, and I can show you, here's another one. This is really small, but it does have a lot of energy in this piece here. So there's a good chance this will take off and make you a good plant. You shouldn't get any like that in the male. You shouldn't get any that's real short like this. This one does have a lot of nodes on it. It's going to be fine, but like I say, when they ship them, you should get cuttings that are 6-8 inches long. They should have at least 3 nodes, maybe more, and they should be no smaller than about this size, and like I say, a pencil. Also, I'm going to dry the top off, because when I put my parafilm on top of this, I don't want a bunch of moisture under there that could trap some kind of fungus or disease and give it a good breeding ground. So, but anyway, I separate out the ones that are tops that don't need wrapped, like these, and then I'll put all the others to the side and then wrap the tops. This job is finally done. I have them in their little containers here. I have 168 cuttings started. I have 72 fig trees in the ground currently this year. And out of those, there's 16 different varieties. And soon I have 2 more varieties on the way, 20 more cuttings. And so we'll raise that varieties up to 18. But I always try to collect varieties that are different than what I have. But if you want to get you a fruit tree, and now up north it's a little bit different, you have to be a little more selective. Down here and where I'm at in 8B, there's a lot of varieties that can take the winter without a lot of work. Some do better up north, because I noticed my Chicago Hardy, they grew, but they didn't grow like I would have expected them to, things like that. But anyway, I hope this video is helpful. I hope it gets you excited to maybe getting you a fruit tree started, and get you into gardening. But anyway, if you want to see more of my videos, well, just of course hit that subscribe, hit the bell button, so you make sure you're notified. Give it a big thumbs up and share this video. Enjoy your garden.